about going beyond the basics with Nuestra historia and Notre histoire, and how you can actually change Voces to make it your own. We're going to start with a quick introduction about some of the updates that we made, and then we're going to go on and talk about editing pages, creating your own activities, including audio activities. We're going to talk about how to share activities and how to move items around in the text.
And this don't let it like overwhelm you, because it's so much, it's so amazing, this second part, that I will, we contain ourselves when we talk about it. It's a game changer. It really is.
It is. And we really like fell in love with Voces. We loved the beginning part too, where we were just finding our way around. But once we got to this part, we were just blown away. And so if you're just joining us now, we did a webinar earlier today. If you need help with the basics, Erin is going to be posting that later on, and you can go back over that for the help with the basics. So let's start with some of the things that we did.
Michelle?
Oh yeah.
I'm so sorry, but you know what? Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought I stopped recording. Never mind. Sorry.
I did see the recording button, so it's
Yes.
possible that you recorded all the way through.
I did, but that's okay. Okay, sorry.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I saw that. We added a lot of scaffolding for our students. We really felt like it really helped our students in a lot of ways. So one of the things that we did is we started including instructions in a lot of places where, maybe it's, for most of us, I think it was obvious, like click on and listen to the expressions, but a lot of our students just skipped right over it. And so at least for those students who do read the instructions, which I know it's not everyone, but at least it is there. And if students get confused, you can say to them, did you read the directions? We also included comprehension practice for the intro vocab, so that students could introduce themselves and then immediately see if they could recognize it, and they can still focus on the new vocabulary chunks. Then we added some pre-reading activities. These are the popovers. So if you see the words that are in blue, those are the ones that we added in. When you mouse over it, like here, you mouse over il court, and it comes up with he runs. And what we found is that this really helps our students to self-differentiate. The students who need the help, who will get stuck without it, who will give up, can use it. The students who don't need it, they don't use it. Some students will use it for a while if they're unsure, but it also can help them to gain confidence. So,
and this is a game changer. Once we found these, Michelle, I remember the date and the time, and I would go on personal Zooms with students who really struggled. They loved the popovers. They felt confident. It changed the way they looked. They were afraid of Voces to some degree, especially the students that struggled. And when we found this one, and I had looked all over the internet, right, Michelle, to see if I could find the program that would do this. And then Michelle found it, in Voces. I worked with personal Zooms with the strugglers, and they would, I said, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? I'm looking at the words to see if I can remember them so I can do the next part. Hold on, Miss Lewis. And they would just scroll over them so they could remember. They were trying to, on their own, memorize them. I didn't tell them to memorize them. They felt confident. One little kid said, this is fun. I really like the story now. So this is the one thing that basically it was set the boat in motion for us.
Yeah, it really was, as Sandy said, it was a game changer. This really empowered a lot of students, and So we did a lot of adding in of the popovers. Oop, sorry.
Hi.
Hello? Oh,
Yeah.
hi. All right, so we also, oops, there we go. We created a lot more comprehension activities, including some listening comprehension activities with our own recordings. So we did some reading comprehension questions in English and some in French. We did a lot of audio activities where students would get more practice with listening comprehension. And we'll be talking about these more as we talk about how to actually do this. We also added some student recording activities, some student oral responses, and we really worked on differentiating these. So some of these were either or questions. So students who really need a lot of support would hear both instances of an answer. Is this the answer or is this the answer? And then you can also ask more open-ended questions for
Wow,
students.
son
who are,
120,
uh,
120 participantes, increíble.
sorry, I'm just trying to.
And this was the last one, the last things that I tried was the students answering with 6th grade, and it was the story on Leo and Anton. And I said to the students, we're coming to the end, try this out. I need as many students to check it out for me. And it was a big success because we gave them the answers. And this was novice level, but they felt really empowered by the end. And most of the students took it. And with even students that struggled, they were able to do this because we differentiated and we scaffolded it for them.
Okay, and then I also put a picture here of what it's like when you're grading the student responses. So this is an example of what it might look like where there's the question that was asked, if you need to listen to it again, and then there are the student answers, and you can put in your own answer key so that when you're hearing the answer, it makes sense or really quickly. All right, so another thing that we did is we started to hide some of the activities that we didn't want students to do, especially in the spring, where we had students who, quite honestly, there weren't a lot of ways to hold students accountable. And so there were a lot of students who waited and then did a bunch of activities right near the end, including a bunch that were not assigned and that we didn't even want them to do. But so this Apple icon shows pages that the students can't see. You can decide to change any of them, add them, take them away in the editor. Any sections in Voces that are outlined in yellow will be on your page, and the students will see the page, but they won't see the boxes in yellow. Okay, that's also editable. And so then you can decide which pages that you want students to see versus the ones that you don't. Now we're going to start talking about how you can make Voces yours. And as we said a little bit ago, this was the really exciting thing that just won us over. We're going to start by talking about editing pages. And there are different reasons why you might want to edit a page. You might want to put directions on the page. You might want to change the physical layout of the page. You might want to move something further up or down, change the text, any wording that you find that may not be appropriate for your students or that you feel like should be changed. You can add vocabulary, you can add audio, and for those of you who tend to use Safari, I know I'm in the minority here, you can only do that in Chrome, you can't do that in Safari. You can add images, you can add the popovers, and we're going to talk about how to do some of this. So if you were going to add directions, we're going to talk first about editing text that is already in the book. Or in the program that's in Voces. So at the bottom of each page, there is a button that says edit this page. So you click on the button. It's going to ask you to edit the page. And so you want to give it some kind of obvious name so that you will be able to find it. It will be a different copy from the original, so you don't have to worry about messing up the original or changing the original or losing it. Sandy and I spent a good half an hour freaking out about this when I thought that I had lost an original page, and then we figured out a workaround, and then Chris came to the rescue afterwards and said, don't worry, you cannot lose the original page. It's in there permanently. So if you want to reinstate an original page, you can do that.
Can you tell them, Michelle, just really briefly, very briefly, that about italicized versus not italicized, which helped us a lot when you're making
Yeah,
these
so
changes?
one of the things is that if you notice here in the name, the HTML code for italicizing is here. So the names of the pages are italicized. And at first we were adding that code in and making sure that we were doing that. And then we decided after a while that we wanted, we liked having it not be italicized because it was very subtle, but it was an easy way for us to tell which pages were the ones that we had created.
Yeah.
So we left it without italicization then. So after you do this, you're going to choose the section that you want to edit. So, oh, where's the page? Is it on the next page? No. So there's a section that this page will come up on the left-hand side of the page will be all of the sections that are there. The section names are in red. And on the right-hand side of the page is where you'll do your editing. So if you want to edit, let's say, I don't know, section 1, you would click on the parts for section 1. Okay, and then you're going to click on add, edit, copy, or add, edit, vocab, depending on the part that you want to actually edit. So what happens at this point is that the text that you're working with, the part that you'll be editing, will be on the right side of the page. So at the bottom of that section, you're going to find the edit button. Okay, so you can't accidentally change something here either. You can't just go in and start typing, you have to edit. If what you're working on is, if there's a lot of text, there's a button at the top that says wide, which will make the part that you're editing wider, and so that you'll be able to see what you're working on more easily, because what's currently in the text is on the left and what you're changing will be on the right. So next you will make any changes that you want. You'll add, if you're adding directions or whatever, and then you click save, okay? Then the thing at the top of the right side top of the page, there'll be this red save page button, and you wanna click that. The next thing is to click close editor. And just note that save page is no longer in red, so you don't have to worry about that. And then you can see the changes that you've made. So once you close the editor, you can see it. You can continue to edit if you say, oh, you know what, really I want to move the sections around or any of that. You can grab these sections over here, drag and drop them wherever you want. They are editable. So if you wanted to have, you know, whatever section at the top, you can just move it. Okay, and now we're going to talk about editing and doing popovers. So the popovers are these bubbles. We showed you briefly a little bit ago, the bubbles that appear when you mouse over the popover enhancement. So this, again, they provide the scaffolding for students who need it. Some of your students will not need this, but this story, for instance, is in the first unit. And if you're starting right at the beginning with your students, they may not know what a lot of this is. A lot of students do get overwhelmed by seeing a text and not knowing. So if you've ever had a student that like copies a text and puts it into Google Translate or whatever, and this will hopefully help avoid that. We really love that students can self-differentiate. Okay, so those who need it, it's there. Those who don't need it, it's not there. Once they're in your text, they're a permanent reference for all levels of readers. Someone needs to go back or someone wants to go ahead, they can do that. They allow all of your students to access the material. So again, those strugglers, students who have, you know, processing issues, language issues, they can still access the material. And it also helps students work more independently without getting frustrated, which especially right now with if anyone is working hybrid or remote, you know that you won't see your students as often or as in the way that we have in the past. So it really does allow them to work more independently. Okay. So we show here the original text, which is on the left, versus the updated text on the right. And we called this a pre-reading activity. So students could really focus on what the meaning of the story is before they're really thinking about listening to it. And
could you address the fact that there was just a story, but we wanted every page to have something, because it was just like Le Professeur Furieux, but that was it. You know, you can listen to it and then say you've listened, and what you added, like all the things that we added on.
Right, we added, there are some pages in the program that are just a story, and students will go there and there's nothing for them to click or do except for maybe this page was assigned to you, I read this page or something button. And we were finding that our students were not getting enough out of those pages. We really wanted them to start processing the story, start processing the elements of it, and have something to do on each page. So you can see we started adding there was a matching activity at the bottom of that page. So if you want to add popovers, this is the process. You edit the text on a page, as we just talked about. You choose the word or the phrase that you want to make into a popover. So for instance, here, if we want to make the word professeur into a popover, we would, so we highlight it, copy it, then click on the speech bubble icon in the toolbar. When you click on that, this window opens and you will paste your word or phrase into the text to display field. And for the text for the popover is whatever you want to appear in that popover or hover over, the pop-up that comes up. You put that in there. So then click Insert Popover. You do that for as many different things as you want in your text, and then you're going to save it. Save the page, close the editor, and you can take a look at your page. One of the things that's important is and we've had this at the bottom of most of these pages, is that even though you've edited the pages, you're still going to need to insert them into the program. Okay, and we're going to talk about how to do that near the end of this webinar today. So we just talked about editing the pages that are already there in Voces. You may also want to create your own activities. And so we're going to talk a little bit about different types of activities and why we why we created them.
Yeah.
So sometimes we wanted to help students with their reading comprehension. So sometimes we would have questions in the target language, which for us was French, or sometimes the questions in English, depending on what it is that you want the students to show that they understand. The questions in English really helped to make sure that students understood the story. So, and the students who didn't understand the basic components of the story, they would find that out, right? So if you ask about the different parts of the story in English, they can go back to the story and say, oh, I didn't realize that this was, you know, whatever. Questions in, and here we have an example of a reading comprehension multiple choice activity that we made. Over here we made a reading comprehension activity with questions in French, and those will help students work towards mastery. They can recognize the words that are in the questions, go back to the reading in order, if they need help, to remember the answers. We also did some matching vocab activities, a lot of them with chunks and expressions in order to help students recognize the written form and the oral form. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. For listening comprehension, we added a lot of activities with spoken questions in the target language to give students extra practice with understanding spoken language. So for instance, here we may have said something like, in the story, who was very, and it would be in French, qui est très sympathique, and is it Anton's dad or his mom? Okay. And then the students would have to recall from the story, and they need to understand the question and remember the answer to it. We also did we created a lot of matching vocab activities with listening comprehension to give students practice with that. So we did some which are more traditional, where we would have the French, where we've recorded ourselves saying a phrase, and then they have to match it with the meaning in English. And then we also decided to do some where there's the phrase in French and they need to match it with the written form of the French.
Yeah. Michelle, you can talk about il and il a and
right,
all
go
those
ahead.
differences. Yeah.
Yeah, so that you can see, like, we grouped some of the vocabulary into things that might possibly be confusing for students, and they would need to listen and actually recognize which one of these it was.
I have a quick question, Michelle.
Katie, yeah.
Could you see students being able to do this type of work in breakout rooms? Would that work? Would they be able to listen and be in a Zoom breakout room at the same time and work together?
I suppose they could, yeah.
We did open Zoom.
I mean, we did do some of our Zooms where we had breakout rooms where students would work on similar things together. So each on their own computer, or, each doing whatever it is, and they could help each other.
Yeah. We did open Zooms, right, on Fridays, and said, if you haven't gotten the work done, come to the open Zoom. We'll put you in a breakout room. And they were doing things like this in the breakout rooms. So it was done at the end, yeah.
Great, thanks.
We also created some activities for speaking practice and for assessment. So these were really just opportunities for students to demonstrate what they can do with the target language, whatever level they're at currently. So this was an activity we created for the very first story. This is in the French text, it's the story Bonjour, Salam Alaikum. And what we asked here was for students to say whatever they could to describe the picture, because, assuming that you start this at the beginning, near the beginning of the year, your students are going to be at the novice low level, and they may only be able to say a few words. Some students may be able to say larger chunks of the language from the storytelling. And, you know, so each student will be at their own level. And they can all do something. This one was a response to a question. So there was a question in French, and then they needed to record themselves answering in French with whatever level of detail that they could. And what we did is we did tell them that they needed to practice before starting their recordings, because the recordings do automatically submit. So if you have any students who are like, I did that activity, but then they forgot to press the submit button with the recording activities, that's not an option. Any oral assignments, you have to individually score. So we tended to use these for assessing mastery, for giving individual feedback, and just for checking them at certain points through the process. The recordings could be a very short answer, they could be a longer discourse. So as your students move along, maybe they can say quite a bit about the picture or about the story, or they can tell a story with a lot of details. With the audio prompts, you can do tiered questions, you know, both in the same assessment or in different assessments. You could do questions at a very basic level for your students who are still at that lower level that need more time to move on. You can do more complex, more open-ended questions for the students who are at a higher level.
And Michelle, these are the ones that we're creating for September, I believe. These are the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
You can say. And yeah, we kind of poured over this one as well. You know, I personally, and giving the students this as practice might really frustrate them if they're not ready for it, which is why we thought, you know, let's make this an assessment after they practice in the, say, breakout rooms, after they practice with us, you know, during the Zooms. Now they feel confident and don't feel like they're afraid to speak. This is for us like an assessment, not practice at all. That's one of our reasons why we chose that.
Okay. Other kinds of activities, you can embed games in Voces using the Game Center. And there are both listening and reading items available for students. You can embed them right in a page and then assign them to play the vocabulary. There's also, you can create activities for writing practice. One thing just to be aware of is that for any kind of written assignment, you're going to have to individually score them. So personally, we prefer to use these more for assessing mastery. And you can do whatever length you want, shorter answer or longer text. And you can also add text. You can create, if you create stories with your class, you can add those stories, including images if your students draw pictures to illustrate a story. You can add video, practice with games, assessments, and definitely there are teachers who are practicing with this and adding more and more continually. Umar was just telling us on Friday that he's been able to embed Quizlets into Voces. We haven't done that yet, but I'm sure that the more that we try different things out, the more we will learn what we can do. So, talking about creating your own activities. So you can create a new page by opening any of the visual directory sections. You can also, obviously, you can edit existing pages like we already, like we talked about already, but on the visual directory pages, the sections, you'll see that there is a box that says add new page here. Okay, it's the last one on each page. You're going to be asked to name your page, so be logical and detailed enough so that you'll be able to identify it later. In the beginning, you know, we were just doing things like practice page. And when we talk about putting things in the text later, you'll see that that becomes really difficult to figure out what it is, practice page for what. So you'll type your new page name and you will create the page. Then the next thing you need to do is to choose the type of activity. Is it a standard activity, a recording activity, or an embedded game? Most of the things that we've done have been the standard activities. We have also done the other two. So you're going to choose the type of activity. You're going to choose a grading style. Is it for points or for a rubric? And you're going to click Create Page. And as you're doing this, it will walk you through this. So don't be overwhelmed by the number of steps, because as you're doing it, you will see this is pretty straightforward. You're going to create a new section. You select the section type, and you can see there are a lot of different types of sections that you can put in. And you can label your section, or you can just leave it as section whatever number. The students won't see it. It's really just for you so that you can edit the page. And then you click Create Section. Okay, so at this point, our new page has one section, but we can always create another one, okay, and as many sections as you want. So we're gonna click on Edit Section, and this will give you the option to write in a description of the section or directions. Typically, we put our directions for the activity here and we save. One thing to know, I believe that we were setting up a matching activity. Randomize this section is useful for if you don't want all of your left-hand column of matching to be in the same order each time. So if students retake it, they hopefully will get a new order. We like to do randomize. We'll obviously randomize the answers, but this also will randomize the questions. And then click Save. So the next thing you need to do once you have a section is to add or edit the questions and then create a new question. So this one was a matching question in this case. So you would put in your question in this box, and you can change the formatting here however you'd like. You can also add images, and there's a match. So that's, you put your match here, and then you would add a question. We're actually going to show you how to make an audio matching question. So the written one would just be, you would type in and then you would be done. But this is for creating audio activities. So to create an audio activity, you're going to click Enable Recording. So remember, this has to be done in Chrome. For those of you who use Chrome regularly, it may not be an issue, but I tend to use Safari, and every time I go, oh, I have to go back to Chrome. So you click Enable Recording, and that will, you'll have to give permission to use your computer to record. Then you'll get this green record button. And when you click on it, it will say recording in progress, and you click the stop button to stop. One of the things that we noticed, Sandy and I, when we did this, is that we've used Schoology a lot to do recordings and a bunch of other things. The recording here in Voces is very efficient. You click that record button and it is immediately recording. So if you like clear your throat or move or anything before you start speaking, it will, you'll hear it on your recording.
Immediately, I mean.
And we found that it worked very, very smoothly.
Yeah.
So what happens at this point is after you click stop, the inserted recording will appear. You can check the audio. We definitely recommend that you check the audio just to make sure there isn't some background noise or you're not making plosive sounds in the microphone or whatever. You can insert multiple recordings. You can delete just by putting your cursor after it and clicking the delete button. Then all you need to do is decide, are you making this a model, yes or no? And then click add question.
Did we ever use it for models? I don't think we have at this point.
We haven't, but I think it was mostly because we assumed that our students would know how to do it. And if not, then hopefully we had done it with them already, but you can make any question a model. And then you just continue to create new questions until you're happy with that section. You can create a new section with a new section type or the same section type. So for instance, if we have a matching page with a page with a lot of vocabulary and we want students to practice matching, we have, maybe I should switch to, nope, sorry. Hang on, let me see if I can switch to, is this the page? Can you see my new page now? Or are you still seeing? Sandy, is this the Voces page?
Yeah, that's the Voces page. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is one where we did multiple different sections on one page. So the first page, the first part was the vocab.
Yep.
That is right there. Then we had an audio section for part 2, match with the English. We had part 3 where we had the audio of the story and then the story with the popovers. And then we had part 4 where we had some reading comprehension questions.
This is for grade 6. This is novice.
Did
Yes.
you create all of this whole page?
Yeah.
We used the vocab section that was in at the beginning. The questions essentielles and this vocabulary section were already in the story. So this is the first unit and the first story of Notre histoire number 1. This is obviously the story. We moved the audio above the story. And then we added this attention to noticing verb forms, and the teacher notes are from the original page also.
Cool. So you edited the page. You like moved around sections.
Yeah.
And then you put like the part 2, you wanted that above the story as a way to sort of set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we've started doing is with all of the vocabulary sections, we are putting in a section where students need to process that in some way, usually just a quick matching activity, but just so that they do something actively with it.
Yeah,
exactly. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So the vocab that you took from what was already there and the story and the recording you took, but they weren't initially on the same page. How did you get them to be on the same page?
So if you, I don't know if you were here for the first webinar, but the way that Voces is set up is the first page is typically just the vocab, the important vocab from the story with the audio. Okay,
Right.
so you would have just this, possibly with the, or probably with the essential question on the same page. And then the next page will have, it will repeat the vocab section and we'll have the story with the audio. Okay.
The second page already has both on there?
It does, yeah, it has
The
both.
page edited?
Yes, so we used that and we edited it. We made it so that you could see this is just the first part, there's the second part. They have to somehow do something active with the vocabulary. Part 3, they're listening to the audio and reading along with the story. And then part 4 is answering some comprehension questions. Okay.
It was nice to put it on one page too, versus having several pages. It's, have 4 activities on one. It kind of
Well, what we found is that our students, if we asked them to do independent work, they weren't really they didn't really know, some of them at least, really didn't know what to do with the pages where there weren't questions to answer or whatever.
So if you wanted to take a section from a different page that you weren't editing, can you?
Can
And
you
move it? Like if there was something on page 3 that you wanted on page 2, could you grab it?
Can answer that.
Yeah.
Chris is looking into that exact thing. So basically, no, not directly. You would have to copy and paste, which loses some of the formatting and can be a lot of copying and pasting at times.
Yeah.
But he is absolutely aware of the need for like the ability to copy just a whole section as is and move it to another page. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so back to the slideshow. Let's see. So we were talking about you can create new sections. So like on the page that we just showed you from our editing, there were a lot of different sections, different types of sections on the same page. So you can have, you can have the same types, or you can have different types of sections, or you can just have one section on a page. So really important, you click the Save Page button at the top of the page, and then you close the editor. At that point, you can view the page that you've edited, and you can continue to edit by clicking Edit This Page button at the bottom of the page. You can edit it as many times as you want. So you can say, oh, I like how this looks, or you know what, I want to move these sections around. The sections are, if you have sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can, on this editing page, you can drag and drop those sections to move them around however you want.
There's a question that I want to make sure gets answered because I also have it.
Okay.
So Pamela's asking, when I edit a page that is already there and save it, does it replace the original? And if so, like, how do I find the original? I have the same question.
So the, we're going to show you in the editor what it looks like. If you want to use the original page, you can add it. You have to link it to somewhere in the text. So something can only be linked in one spot in the text, and I'm going to show you. It'll be easier when you have the visuals, I think, to go along with it. So we're gonna move kind of into that right now. So
Michelle, I have a question about if you have something in a PDF, which one do you say to add that? Because I have a picture that I want to put it with descriptions on it, which is in a JPEG, and it's in a PDF.
Yeah.
So which one would I use?
So do you want, so you can add images?
Yeah.
And so is that a JPEG and you have a PDF with questions? Is that it?
Well, no, I'm going to put the JPEG, I was thinking putting a JPEG, inserting it in and saving it as a PDF, in a PDF with my questions on it. And then I want, so it has a picture describing everything I want the kids to do.
So Diane, are these questions that you might want students to answer?
Yeah, I'm going to list the questions I'm going to ask them about themselves. And then I will say them in the listening. I'll do recordings of what I want them to say. And then I want them to write and also to say.
Yeah. So personally, what I would probably do is just insert the photo or the image that you have, and then do questions separately so that you can have students interact with it.
Yeah.
So what is the tab for inserting a photo or a picture?
So, and in any of the questions or whatever, you can see it's this one here that looks like a little image icon.
Okay.
See where it looks like mountains and a moon.
Right, right.
That's the one. You click that and then you can upload a picture.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Questions underneath it. Yeah.
And Michelle, if we wanted to put in like our own YouTube video, that would be content only in a section. And then in the drop down.
Hang on. I have not embedded videos yet. So
I see that it says content only.
Yeah,
so
I can
imagine that'd be it.
I can answer that. It's yeah, you would do the content only, and then there's a little, like that little movie icon.
Mm-hmm.
You click that and you can just paste the URL to your video right there from YouTube or Loom and a few others.
Oh yeah, Loom.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna start using Loom, so we
And
could
it's-
actually use Loom within this.
Yeah,
That's
it's so easy. And so, yeah.
Awesome.
great. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yes, there's always more to learn, and
Yeah.
there's so many exciting things. Okay, so of course, after you've put in a lot of this work, you may want to share it with your colleagues, and it's an awesome, very simple process, to be able to share activities. So I'm going to show you first how you would share activities as the sender, like the person who has the file to share, versus the person who will receive that file. So for the creator of the page or the sender of the page, you're going to go to the editor, and that is, you're going to go to your teacher's panel. That's the person standing in front of the globe, and the editor is the pencil. And those are at the top of your page. That will open a page, and you will go to page and it says manage my pages. Okay, at the top of the editor, there's a thing that says manage my pages. Okay, you'll have a list of all the pages that you've created, and you just choose whichever page or activity that you want to share. And to the right of those activities, you'll see that there is this little share button with a little cloud and arrows. And when you click on that, you will get a share ID code. And so, you give that ID code to whoever you want to share it with. So when Sandy and I were doing this, we would edit all together and talk about it and make sure that we were happy with it on one machine. And then we would share, we would give the share ID to the other person, and she would put it in her book.
And I was the student. I was the student of this part, and it was really very easy to do. I became the student again, and Michelle would say, touch this, touch that, boop, put the code in, boop, I've got it. So yeah.
And then once they've entered that share ID, they have a copy of that page.
Yeah.
So if you make additional changes at your end, the receiver, the recipient, will not have those changes. And the person who receives it can make any changes they want, and it won't do anything to the original. So once that ID code has been shared, it's a separate file at that point. Okay, so for the recipient, it's similar and different. So you're going to do the same thing by going to the editor, go to the teacher's panel and the editor, which is the pencil. You're going to still go to manage my pages. So my pages are all the ones that you've created. And even if you haven't created them yet, you can still do this. You will click on import a page using share ID. Okay, there's a button near the top. And then you're going to enter the share ID provided by the other teacher.
With the dashes.
With the dashes, thank you, yeah. So you do need the dashes. And then you put them in, and then you'll get this message, okay, which says the page has been imported. So it will be in your pages list, but it will still have to be linked somewhere in your menu before it is available. To link a page, and then we're going to talk about how to link a page, but the reminder of how to do it will be right here as soon as you import a page. But once you import it, you can do this at any time. Okay, this is the part 2. It can be done at any time. You'll go to the moving items section, and we will show you how to move things around in the editor. Oops. Does that make sense?
You have a few questions coming in about this.
Okay.
So, like, can you share with more than one person at the same time?
Anyone who has the share ID can use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So theoretically, if we had, like, if we wanted to do one for our department at our school, Katie, we would do, let's say, a Google page, and we would say, here's the link for blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then anyone who wanted that link could take it and
Just
import
take it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I see, like Calico, that's a great question. That was sort of getting to what I was talking about earlier. If Voces could create this central database where it could be really open source and we could be sharing, that would be really pretty cool, wouldn't it?
It could be, but I can really see that being overwhelming.
Overwhelming, yeah. Okay.
Because, you know, I don't know how many teachers are using Voces, but if there are, you know, 1,000 people making changes, like I don't want to have to look at 1,000 copies of.
Yeah, so maybe it's better just district wide is awesome, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, however you want to do it. I just personally, it's kind of like, you know, going to, I don't know, the internet and finding 3 million things about the same thing. I don't want to have to look through all of them.
And maybe you could form a group on Facebook.
Yeah.
That would
I
be
think
like
there is already a group on Facebook. Yeah.
I put a link to a Google Doc. I overlooked it earlier, but it's on that same page, the summer conference page that I've shared a few times, but it's the Google Doc that I shared, which I'll share again just to put it clearly away from the other link. And that is where you can share your IDs, and there's only one there so far. So we need more. It's very new. But yes, like if you can share your IDs there, then, you know, you don't have to fill in every entry. It's just like there if you want to say more about your link. But that's a place to begin. And yes, like the sharing, the idea that we can share pages is huge and very powerful. But I think it can be also overwhelming if we don't kind of specify what's on those pages. So.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about moving items, because this is where you can create. This is where, if you're sharing pages, definitely you need to be able to do this. So we're going to talk about the editor. Remember, that's the person in front of the globe for the teachers panel, and then the pencil for the editor. So there are all of these buttons, and we're going to go over them all, but in different ways. So we'll have here the new group. This is the button you're going to use to add a page to your section. The rename, I didn't go over because I thought that was pretty straightforward. The move up, move out, move in, we're going to come back to. Teacher only. The apple shows that it is only the teacher who can see that page. It is hidden from students. If you click it, you will see a button that says Student See. And if you click Student See again, it hides the page and turns it back to teacher only.
Yeah.
The next one is these buttons that say enabled or disabled. So you can disable a page. It's still linked to the material, but it's not active. So notice that in the part that's enabled, the background here is, it's white. It's just the same as the rest of the page, whereas the one that's disabled is this purplish gray color, okay? The add page button, this is gonna be important. This is what allows you to link a page to your new page that you want to create. Unlinked content, if you don't want something linked to the book, or you want it to be somewhere else, you can click unlinked content and then it won't be linked anymore. When you move pages, you can move them around in the units, in the stories, however you want to do that. You use these move up, down, in, and out buttons. Moving it up and down, I think that's pretty straightforward, right? So, whoops, sorry. Whichever the item is that you want to move, you move it up or down. Moving it out or moving it in is to move it out of, for instance, a section. If you wanted to move it out of this story, you could do that. And always, yes, you're going to always want to save. The save button is at the top of the screen. changes won't show if you don't save. All right, so now to add the pages. So for instance, you have gotten a share code from someone and you decide you want to add this in. What you're going to do is you find the unit or the section that you want to add it into. So for this one, we're choosing Unit 3, and we're choosing the short story number 2. So Petite Histoire 2, and we click on New Group there under the Petite Histoire, because we want this page to show up in this story, not just in Unit 3. So when you click on New Group, it will ask you to name your page, and for our purposes, we just named it Updated, and then you're going to click Create. When you do that, it will create a place for your page, but your page isn't there yet because you haven't linked it to anything yet. So you need to click on the Add Page button here, and that will make this drop-down list appear, and it says Create New Page. And anything that you have in your Manage My Pages list will show up there, including anything that you've imported. And also the Voces original pages will show up at the bottom of that list. So if you go, oops, I really wanted that original page because I don't like what I updated, you can put the original page back in. So you find the page you want, and you click Add. Any new pages, so what we just added, automatically gets added to the bottom of the group. So if I want this to be up here with this story, I would have to click move up like 5 times. Move up until it's where I want it to be. Okay.
And just make sure that you name your page well, because it can be overwhelming to find the page. So that was another thing that we discussed.
In the beginning, we weren't I think that we weren't really sure how we wanted to name things. And especially when we were playing, I think that if you can come up with a naming protocol that will make sense for you, that will really be helpful.
So on this page, Michelle, I see that we have Uma, Va, Uga, Dugu up top, and then you have this updated one. So you would move this up, and then what are you doing with that original one? You unlink it?
You can, so it's totally up to you. So I would click, if I click move up once, it'll be above activity 5. So I click and I put it up here. I can go up here and I can click teacher. When I click on the name of this page, I can click on teacher only. I can disable it. I can unlink it. You can do whatever you want with these. Okay. Yeah.
So did you disable a lot of things that we didn't want to use?
I started disabling things. Yeah. Right at the end.
Remember that, right at the end we said that, yeah.
Because there were some things that we decided we didn't want students to have access to, and we didn't want to have to keep dealing with it either. So with adding pages here, this is just a close-up of those buttons. You have to click move up, move up, move up, move up, and your file is moving up as you go. Well, I guess we're done. Oh, I'm totally.
Oh, don't be done. There's so much more. Help me, help me.
There is, honestly, you are only limited by your own amount of time and,
And what we're talking about now is we're like, now we're focusing in on the rubrics. What do we want to do with the rubrics and the can-do statements? And it's still an ongoing thing for us. And I'll tell you, the 2 things is like popovers, which are really great, and collaboration. True collaboration. This is what we have done. Collaborating has been the key, right, Michelle? It's been, we were in sync. Time didn't matter. we just, to me, that was like the key right there, besides the popovers, which I love, was the collaboration between the two of us. So if you have somebody that you say, you know, let's work together, two people, it makes it so much more fun. At least it did for us. It changed.
I have a question for you guys about timing. I think one of the hardest things for me, we are 100% distance, right? So I would give the kids predictions like, here's this X activity that I want you to do. And this is pre-Voces because we didn't have this, right? So I think it will take you 10 minutes, which of course we all know as teachers, it could take some kid 4 and some other kids 75, right? And especially if their cell phones right next to them. So I'm curious if you guys found a good rhythm of timing for your kids and how long it took you, because I noticed in the assignment section, I could set a time limit, right? So I wondered how that worked for you guys and if you used that feature or not.
So I can't remember if time limits were there in the spring or if that's a new thing.
I don't know if we had.
We did not use time limits in the spring. However, before finding Voces, I used to do a ton of quizzes in Schoology, and I always put time limits on them in Schoology because I would always give more time than I thought students would need. So if I thought, okay, this is going to take you 5 minutes, I'll give you a maximum of 20. And I explained to my students, I would just say, look, I know that sometimes something will happen, the dog barks, you have to let him out, or, you know, whatever, you have to go to the bathroom, but you need to come back and finish, you know, and I give you plenty of time, so it's not a stressful thing. But
maybe you can
it causes them, okay, you can't just leave it open forever. With Voces, I didn't really find it an issue. Because students, for the most part, were always submitting the work. In Schoology, I'd find that a lot of students wouldn't submit, and then they'd be like, but I did it.
Did you guys find the grading piece? So I use the audio sections for Schoology, and it sucks, pardon my language, I just offended. Like to load, I was like, I'm gonna cry. I don't even want to sign this anymore because I don't have 7 hours to grade 100 of them.
Well, this is one of the things that we kept going, oh my goodness, we love doing audio assignments on Voces. It's so much friendlier. It's much friendlier for the teacher to record for students, and it's much clear. It's very clear. It's just very straightforward.
Schoology was so stressful. We were like ready to cry. Schoology was.
Yeah, it is. That's why this makes me want to cry, hearing that my life will come back to me and I won't be up till 2 a.m.
You will be dancing.
Schoology.
You'll be dancing.
Yeah, you'll have a life.
Yes, you're gonna
Thank you, ladies.
You're gonna love using audio with
writing. I'm dancing.
Even more so if you've used audio with Schoology. This is the answer to all of your hair tearing out. I'm seeing things about will the teacher have access to the edited pages or editions that were created the following school year with the new students? Oh yeah, Erin already answered. Yay! Yeah, anything that you edit or create is yours as long as you have the subscription. So yes, because that would be really horrifying to put all this work and then have it all disappear and have to recreate it every year. That's one of the things that's really wonderful here.
I have a quick question. So if you do collaborate with someone and you share your ID, how then, like if they want to then tweak it, does that work? Is there a way for you to work at the same time or not really?
So what happened with Sandy and me is we did all of our editing together first.
Anchored.
And then shared the ID. Occasionally we would go like, oh, oops, there's a typo. And then we'd both correct it on each of our ends.
Oh, you meaning like you were in like a shared Zoom call, both with it up and editing it at the same time? Is that what you mean?
So, no, we would do a Zoom call or Google Meet, and we would share our screens. And so for instance, Sandy and I are on a Google Meet.
Right now.
I have Voces open on my computer and I'm sharing my screen with her and we're saying, okay, this is a type of activity we want to do here. What about this for a question? Let's do this.
Wow.
And we would do it all together
One,
on the
one.
one account, on my account,
Cool.
save it. And then when we'd look at it and we go,
Truly
okay,
happy.
we're happy with this. Then I would, usually Sandy and I would do this for a bunch of pages and then we'd go and she would just import them into her book and move them into the right space.
I had no, and I didn't have any need to edit them at all for me. If
Right.
you're sharing, Katie, with somebody else and you say, you know, for my class, I'm going to tweak this for my class. Absolutely, you can do that. But the other person will not have your tweaks.
Right.
Right.
You would have to actually go back together.
So like, for instance, if we share a page with you and you go, oops, there's a typo, you would need to let us know so that we could fix it on our end too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could go like, I'm going to change this to the students' names who are in my class, or I'm going to, you know, whatever. I'm going to make this, you know, whatever, you know, I'm going to change it. You can totally do that. Once it's in your account, you can't, like it doesn't affect anyone before.
Okay, and if you want to do like a content only, like a video, like a YouTube video with questions, then you could just send that page with the ID to everyone in the district and they can add it to their book if they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Easy to
And
do.
the other thing is that if you have multiple teachers who are using Voces, you can, you know, share the work that way. So like in our district, there are a lot of Spanish teachers. So they might want to, they might do like, okay, I'll do unit 1, you do unit 2 and unit 3. Or you might say, you know what, so-and-so really enjoys doing the speaking activities. So they'll do the recording activities and then this person really, you know, so-and-so will take care of all of the reading comprehension activities. And this person will do all of the popovers, or, you know, I mean, you can split up the work however it makes sense for you.
With each other, and
You know,
it cuts down on the load of work as well. Work smarter, not, I mean, yeah.
I love Erica's question. Do you guys see it in the chat?
No.
No, I'm okay.
So it says, did you find that you embedded everything in Voces, or are you still creating standalone activities in Schoology?
So when we started with Voces, we really didn't know what we were doing, right? So in the beginning, we were creating things in Voces, I mean, in Schoology, and then we were assigning things in Voces.
Focus with the extra.
Yeah, Voces was extra in the beginning. And then as we got more comfortable with it, we were like, oh my, why are we creating all this stuff in Schoology when it's there in Voces? Like, we don't need to recreate the wheel and create, you know, all of this, you know, whatever, right? It's all there. Let's just use it. And, you know, I mean, we could still use Schoology, you know, I mean, we have Schoology, but honestly,
matching multiple choice, it's very dated for me, the Schoology now versus the Voces. Because
what's great though is you do the grade book, the whole
Yes.
integration, and so that's the key, right? It's like everything lives in Voces, but it gets imported directly into Schoology for your grades, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, our students use Schoology for all their classes. So being able for us to be able to sync the assignments and the grades into Schoology is really useful for them because it's following the same pattern. But most of there's only like 1 or 2 things that I can think of in Schoology that we can do that we haven't figured out how to do in Voces yet. So personally, I think I would rather just work on Voces because it's more straightforward. It's simpler. It doesn't have all of these weird glitchy things.
Michelle, we sort of gave up Schoology at the end as far as making, we were like, why are we doing 2 things? We can do it in Voces, make it easier, one place for the students. I think, I don't know how many weeks, but we were like, we don't need to go back to the Schoology anymore. Once we discovered that we could edit, right? And we could create things on our own, we didn't have a lot of need for Schoology anymore. I don't know, other platforms, but Schoology, just the recording alone that nightmare was gone.
And
I have a question about the technical side.
okay.
This is Lisa.
Hi.
So last spring when I used the trial, I had the students start with the sample activities, which was really great, because they get to record themselves in English. And Erin, maybe you can help answer this. Some of the students, we got this little pop-up that said that they needed, I don't know, some kind of Chrome 365 or something. And when they did record, there was nothing, came up in their recording. So that's kind of like a tech thing.
Are they using Chromebooks or
they
what?
were using Chromebooks, some were using Macs. And so my concern now, like when I'm doing Zoom lessons, because we're completely remote, is that now some of them say that their mic doesn't work at all. I mean, or their camera doesn't work at all. I mean, we have glitches. Yeah. But is there any instruction that I need to give them before?
Yeah. So if you, if they have any issues, really, like, because sometimes it's just a very simple thing that they are just not doing, and oftentimes it's because their browser is not updated to the current, like the most recent version. That's a very common issue. But if they click on that question mark icon, if they are on the recording page and can't record or can't whatever their issue is, they stay on that page, they click on the question mark icon at the top of their page. And then there's a test audio recording for students only, not for teachers, you won't see it, but it will allow them to test their recording, their ability to record their voice. And it will either tell them that it's working, or it will show that it will give them some solutions, or it will tell them to message to to submit a ticket to Chris. So that's with the purple alien head icon and that same question mark icon. It's hard to so I'm just gonna, well, no, I can't share my screen. But yeah, it's okay. If they just click on that question mark icon and then the alien head icon, which sounds silly, but that's Chris's choice, they'll be able to submit a ticket to Chris. He, in that way, by sending the ticket to him, he will know what device they're on, what browser they're in, what page they're on, and we'll know immediately what the problem is, usually.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, or be able to figure it out. But most of the time it's on the user end, because, we're all using different devices, and especially students are just using whatever they have. And so if it's an outdated browser, they may not even know. So.
Okay, thank you.
And Chris is awesome with giving help.
Oh yeah,
he's come to our rescue many times.
Help.
Katie, thanks for answering Marissa's question. Yeah, we do have pages in Schoology, class pages. We have grade books in Schoology, and we just are linked so that the assignments go in there so the students can see them, and they can click on them. It will take them, if they're already logged into Voces, it'll take them right to the assignment, and it's very straightforward. So.
That's the part that I think someone else mentioned this, that they were having difficulty. I am too. So I emailed Chris, but I definitely need to go over it, because I just during the first presentation, I tried again. It showed up on sample student within Voces, but it did not show up on my Schoology page as an upcoming assignment.
So if you want, Katie, I mean, we know each other. If you want, we can do a private Zoom and figure it out. But chances are maybe you didn't
sync the student.
I would say check to see that you had the right grading period and that it showed up. It's not showing up in the grade book. Is that it?
Or it doesn't show up at all on Schoology for upcoming. I bet maybe it does have to do with grading period. Maybe maybe that was it.
It might have to do with the grading period, or it's not on the materials page either.
No, it just shows up on Voces. It does not show up on Schoology.
Okay, so that's something
we can talk on our own.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so.
If I can't do it, if I can't troubleshoot it, then Chris will help you during the week. And there are so many messages in the chat that I can't read that fast. So I don't know if there's something that we need to.
You guys, I'm going to make a plea for you to please share your Google slideshow with us. It's beautiful, and I'm geeking out over your flowers and your colory background. But I really like to go back and read something and see the directions, and you've taken all that time for screenshots. I'm a very visual person. So my one frustration with Voces has been, I wish there were words underneath the icons. Like, I printed a cheat sheet and I glued it to the top of my computer screen. It's like tapes up, you know. So
I will say that the more that you use it, the more like it will just be like automatic. So yeah, in the beginning I felt that way too, but definitely by the time we put together that like navigation slide, it was like, oh yeah, these are the most important ones and we know what those are. And like some of them, like the bar graph that's at the top, it was just like a late night thing I clicked on by accident, and I was like, oh, Cindy, I texted her late in the night, I have to share something with you tomorrow.
Get on, wait. Or like, are you up? Yes, 10:30. I'm on, right? Michelle, she'll text me, go, Sandy, are you there? I'm on too. Send me the link. I'm Zooming. You know?
I love this. I love your collegial relationship. It inspires me. And I have colleagues like you. I think it makes our job so much more fun when we have somebody who loves this like we do, right? So thanks for sharing your love, ladies. I wish you both the best school year yet.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we hope that you will really enjoy Voces as much as we do. We just love it. It's really, it has inspired us, and we
Michelle,
really enjoy working together with it.
You teaching me, I feel really, really strong with Voces at this point. Just going over it and checking things out, and then because we were working on the specific activities and then sharing, you know, we shared a lot. So that I really feel strong. And you know, it was a little intimidating for me in the beginning when, what do you think we should do, Voces? I don't know about this now. And one day it was like, fine, let's do it. And that was it. But if you just play with it, try not to be overwhelmed with it. It's one step at a time. And once you did, like for me, like I said, the one thing that made a difference for the kids was the popovers. They weren't scared anymore. And that's when you can start playing with other things. And the way Chris has changed he's updated it. It's really user friendly, even more so now for people. So, you know, like the collaboration to me is it makes it so much better. The ideas go back and forth. What if we tested them this way? What if we added this question, right? What if we did this in the breakout? What if we did this when we presented it to the students? It flies and you lose track of time, you know, right? Like 4 hours, what? Oh, you know, the only as your family will say, it's time for supper, or we would continue to work. Yeah.
Can I jump in and ask one question? Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Leslie. So I know that my grades from Voces will sync to Google Classroom, but isn't there, okay, if you leave a voice recording or teacher comments, will they also sync? Because that I'm not sure about. Maybe it's a question for Erin.
I don't think that those will sync. I think that those will be, so there is something that we, let's see if I'm going to try to share my screen to just show you.
Thank you.
I have to find it first. So if you want to talk about that, Erin, I'm going to look for that picture that I wanted to share.
Currently, they only get the score in their LMS, and they have to go back to that page in Voces, and at the top of that page, they'll see the audio feedback or written feedback, and you know, everything in Voces only.
I think that audio feedback is awesome. You can just tell them your opinion of their work, and you don't have to waste all that time writing stuff down.
Yeah,
you do have the, yeah.
So much more efficient.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, hang on. I know what it's called.
But then we have to train them to look at the grades both places, or just say, for this assignment, you're going to have to check the Voces grade book because it's an audio feedback.
Yeah.
There is another place that we saw that was, and I know I took a screenshot if I can figure out where I put it. We've been taking so many screenshots lately. Let's see. In any case, there is a like a an overview of the work for a unit for students, and let's see if I can just
the
find
work
it.
summary page.
Yes, I guess that's it. Oh,
Yep.
here it is. I found here. I'm gonna share. I have a couple of screenshots, and maybe I can just share my screen with you.
Thank you so much.
That here you can see. I'll try to make it bigger for you too. Oh, well, I guess I can open it. Here's the. I'll try opening them. But you can see that the items that here's a. Can you still see this? The résumé du travail. Do you see that? The big. I think I'm just showing.
Yep. Yep, we can see the resume.
Is it the small one or is it the whole screen?
The whole screen.
The whole screen. Okay. So you can see like on here, it's got the grades for the activities that the student did. And I think there's I don't know, Erin, do you know if the notes will come up here?
I think when they hover over
Um,
the score, they'll see the notes.
I'm gonna look and see if I can find it in
It's
the.
pretty, or it might be more obvious than that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a while, but then they can click anywhere on that line and get taken to that page. So it's a nice, easy
Here.
way for them to, you know, I feel like it's a pretty simple habit for them to get into.
Okay. I'm gonna share. Here I've got. Just share my desktop. Can you see this here? This is the
Yes, yes.
résumé du travail for Unit 1. And you can see here's today's date. But if, for instance, a student was like, oh, I want to look at this one, they can click on it and go back. And you can see like, here's one. I mean, I must have done it as a teacher just to see what it was like, just to see what the grades, the scores are and stuff. But it is for the whole unit. So I don't know if that's helpful at all. Anyway.
Oh, I haven't started using Voces yet. I've been studying like crazy all this summer, all this stuff. So eventually I'll figure it out, but it'll probably be one of those epic fails that teaches you the most. So I can't wait.
I mean, I really, what I would recommend, and this may or may not work for you, is just to, you know, just start using it, what's there, and just try it out with your students. Assign the, you know, what we did in the beginning was assign the first couple of stories to all of our levels of students, just because, yes, some of them are beyond it, but it was like, it'll be easier for us. And it's not about the content. It was about learning how to use the system, how to use the program, and how things work. And really, I didn't care about the grades. It was about like, how do you use it? How do you manage to complete the stuff? Do you understand how it's organized, how to find the stuff that you need to find? And then as we went on, we were like, okay, our older students can move into this other unit. And then we gave them more challenging.
Fantastic. This has been very helpful. Very, very helpful.
Yeah, don't get overwhelmed by feeling like you need to create everything from the beginning, because honestly, we were just like, what is this? What is there? And the more that we dug in with what was there, we were so impressed, because it's like, this is all the stuff we've been trying to create from scratch and spending, you know, 10 hours to create something that's already there.
Right.
You know? And so, you know, what's a better use of my time? Is it, you know, spending the time with my students and talking with them, or creating these materials that are already created?
Yeah, you are so right. Yeah.
And so then, you know, it was only after we had been using it for a while and we bumped into the, oh my goodness, we can do stuff with it, that we were like mind blown, like, okay, let's do it, you know, but we.
You know what? One of the biggest things for me is I am so tired of the old textbook that I was using for like 10 years that it's so much better no matter what than what I was using before. This is awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, think about
It really is.
I'm so old, not old, but I used ALM, which is audio lingual method, which is from like the 1960s. And that's like, hello. Like, and now for me, this is my treasure. I have been looking for something like this my whole career. And my career has been really long, and this incorporates everything. It's using grammar, but it's not grammar. It's not a textbook. It incorporates and actually makes grammar pulsate and come alive. And I have used everything. And I have been around a long time. And what I have said, this blows my mind. It's what
I'm so happy to let go of the grammar whip for a bit. It's just really made me so sad for kids that could understand things and could say them, but had no clue how to do any grammar on a written quiz. So this is going to be a lot of a big equalizer for people.
Yes, it will. Especially people who can do grammar, but they're afraid to speak. It will even it out. Really big. And what's the goal? I always say to Michelle, what's the point? The point is communication.
That's right.
It's
what can you do? What can you
We're
do?
not trying to get them all into the Sorbonne, okay?
Just communicate with me at any level that you need to. And that's what's your point? You know, that keep asking the question. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Thank you.
And Leslie, if you find yourself getting overwhelmed, just go back over the first webinar and just, you know, get your, whatever, your sea legs or whatever.
I've got Erin's tapes like all in my, on my desktop. So I know this, I'm gonna know all that stuff in my sleep. It's just, how do I deal with live kids staring at me like, we don't know what to do. Oh dear.
And Fridays with the developer. That's so great.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta go there.
It's so great. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It is. It's very relaxed and, you know.
Erin's there.
Like,
Chris is there.
Chill.
It's great. 6 o'clock.
And I saw the question about if we add our own written content, can we add popovers? You can add popovers for anything. And we are like, we love the popovers. We're like all about them. So you can add them anywhere that you can edit the text, basically.
Yeah, could I show really quick?
Oh yeah,
okay?
Sure.
I'm gonna reclaim host really quick. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really easy and oops. So I'm going to like add some popovers to this story right here. I'm just going to go down to the bottom of the page, click edit this page, click OK, that's making the copy. And now as I saw someone figure this out in the chat, but you click add edit copy. So like you're actually going to get
Notice
in there.
Erin is in section 2. That's the one that she wants to edit. On the left, it's section 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to click on add edit copy and then click edit. And so then you just select the text, like the word or words that you want to translate. And I mean, this is my process. You can do it a little bit differently, but I select the text, I copy it, and then I like leaving it selected. I click on the text popover button, and then I paste that same word or words in the text to display, and I translate it below it, and then click insert popover, and it's there. And so you can do like entire phrases. When you get, you know, I've done a lot and it's like, you know, you can do it really quick. Not sure if that's perfect, but, and so that's all. And then you click save and it will be there when you go back to the page. And you can do this to any, like to something that you add. Absolutely. If you added your content, it's the same process. You can also do it in directions. So like if I save that page and come back out, you can see like my popovers look seamless. They look like ours. Someone else asked that question earlier, like about Michelle and Sandy's work. How do you make it look like Voces original content, and it's because we built everything using the same tools. So anything that you see us doing, you can do too. So
You have the
yeah.
platform. Yeah. I have a strange question, Michelle. Are you getting bad thunder?
Oh yeah, we're getting a thunderstorm.
It's like
As
when
we
I heard
speak.
this thunderclap, I just jumped up before. It's
Yeah,
coming.
I know. I've been sitting here. Anyone who, I don't know if you can see me or not, but every once in a while I go,
I know. I heard this big thunderclap. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
it's very exciting. Erin, I'm guessing you sent that to us not too long ago.
The what?
The thunderstorms, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
usually they start out where you are and then they come here a couple days later.
Yeah, I mean that's a bad one coming. I just looked at my app and it's a blob.
Yeah.
Oh
A
boy.
red blob coming.
Well,
in.
I'm glad that it didn't affect your connection.
Yes, I know, right? That's
I
really
lost my
good.
Wi-Fi this morning, Erin. I lost my Wi-Fi. I woke up
Oh,
and I had to call Comcast.
Yes,
my
I got
gosh.
this
Horrible
frantic
timing.
text from Sandy saying, "No, I don't have
I
Wi-Fi."
bought with Comcast Xfinity. What am I gonna do? So I got it back, thank goodness. Never happened. It has not happened. I don't lose my Wi-Fi until today.
So
So,
I just want to
yeah.
say that to everyone who came, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
really just, if you're worried about anything, just start out with what Voces has already and just take it, you know, step by step with your students. You know, it's not a race to get to the end of the program or anything. It's all about communication. So if you, you know, if you and your students are enjoying a particular story, keep going with it. You can skip things, you can, you know, drag things out, you can add things. You don't have to.
That's
Ooh.
what.
You don't have to.
Here's that up here too.
You don't have to add things if you don't want to, and but you totally can as you're ready. It's,
And,
you know,
and just
I
go
think
with-
that I really feel like, and I'm pretty sure Sandy will say this too, that you're gonna love it. Like the more, like, dip your toe in the water and, you know, feel it out. And, you know, you don't have to plunge in, like, you know, for swimming, I cannot plunge in. I always dip my toe and take a long time, but it's, once you're ready, it's there. Like the stuff that you've been trying to build on your own, it's already there.
And what got us through the remote, the pandemic?
It was Voces.
This was the one thing that was our kind of like happy moment. This was it. This was creative. We felt like teachers. We basically took a bad situation and we said, we're gonna, despite it, we're gonna do stuff. And it was this that was the thing that got us through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
I had a feeling from the beginning. I was like, Voces will provide that support that our students need at a distance. And the more we did it, we were like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is like, where was Voces years and years ago? Well, we just weren't aware of it, but you know, it's like, this is what we've been asking for. You know, we don't have to recreate it all because it's there.
The IPAs and the can-do statements, we didn't have to do that anymore. And it was, Erin, it was the last 3 weeks that we suddenly, you know, like you should hear me, da, 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 da. You know, we suddenly started to run. We got it. And there was no stopping us. The last 3 weeks, right, Michelle?
Yep.
That was it.
Yeah, that was when our like the light bulbs all went off and it's like, oh my goodness, I wish I had found this, you know, 20 years ago. And it's really,
Just look at each other like,
it's awesome.
yeah.
So, you know, don't worry, you can't break it. That was a really good turning point for me, was knowing like, I was like, oh no, I lost a page and I can't get it back. And I was like, okay, Sandy, you have to take a copy of the page and you have to share the code with me. And we did this huge workaround. And then, you know, I was like, okay, phew, all right, as long as we've got each other, we'll be okay. But then Chris was like, you know, you could have just, it's there still. So you can't break it. You can do many wonderful things. Your kids will, you know, I think if you're enjoying it, your kids are going to like it.
Yeah.
They like the telling stories. I've been doing storytelling with my students for a while, and, you know, that's really something that they love. So, and that's one of the strong things that I love about Notre histoire.
And my thing is now scaffolding. This is tailor-made for scaffolding, and I'm really excited that if I have a student who is advanced in this, whatever grade they're in, I can give them the opportunity to do activities that I just gear it to that person, only they know it, but I can now, a person who's struggling, I can give them something simpler. I can scaffold any way I want and individually tailor to students who are on IEPs, 504s, students who struggle, who have processing issues, any way I want, and I can do it individually because that's the latest. You can assign individually, really easy, the way Chris set it up. I'm so excited about that because it's making me think in a really creative way that I don't think is going to overwhelm me. I really don't, because he's got everything. Oh, did it do it again?
It's fine. It's fine.
It's just getting very blocky. So yeah, but thank you, Erin, for Voces,
Thank you so much for today's webinar. I mean, I think coming from you, from your experience, from your goals, you know, like your perspective is so valuable for everyone. And I mean, we couldn't have done it. So thank you. Like, so awesome.
We're teachers. This is just our journey. We're teachers, and our goal was let's just try it out. That was the goal. It wasn't to become experts or anything, or you know, no. And
we do love it. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Well, I'm glad that we got to share our joy about Voces with you guys.
You guys certainly have the passion. I love it.
Can I ask a really quick question before you guys go? Because I sort of asked it in the chat. This is Suzanne. I was just wondering if you guys had CI experience before you started with Voces, or was that your first time?
So yeah, I do. I've done some training, and I've been doing storytelling with my students for a while. But my perspective is that if you're not comfortable with storytelling, I think that Voces is a really good support because the stories are all there. You don't have to create them. You can if you want, but I think that it's amazing for you know, the teachers who are not sure about how to use.
And Michelle, our school system is now just getting into the CI. Our department chairman is now really comprehensible input. That's where our next focus is just beginning. You're really into it already. But as a school system, that's one of our major focuses. And this is what, to me, Voces is it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did you guys ever look at the Français 1 and Français 2 and
the other? We haven't, no. You know, honestly, Voces just kind of fell into our laps. You know, it was like, boop, here we are, we're in remote learning, and here's this thing, and you know, I was like, hey guys, I think we should try this, and everybody was like, we're too busy, we're trying to teach, which is what I had always said before too, during a regular school year. And I was just like, I really want, I have a good feeling about it, I want to try it out, and this is the perfect opportunity. It's like, if I had known it was going to be like what it is, I would have started years ago.
5 years ago. 6 years ago.
I would have paid probably for Voces by myself. Just to do it with my students, because I think it's awesome. It makes our lives easier as teachers, and it provides a support and a sort of a structure for students that they can really progress through and see their progress. And
Michelle, have you ever seen a company that changes? Like, they listen, this company listens, and you'll see updates based on the so to speak, the membership. It's constantly changing and updating and getting better and better and better. That's pretty unusual for a company. It's not static at all. It's quite the opposite. It's
Yeah.
fluid. It's really good.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that all the people from Voces are really amazing. So Aaron is amazing, Chris is amazing, and you know, it's really,
Just don't find that.
we can't say enough good things about Voces. So don't be afraid of it. That's my best advice.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, and on that note, I can very easily make a Loom video showing you how to like assign to just one student or adjust, edit this. And it's just like so easy for me to do, and it can solve your problem. So like if you get to that point where you're like, what am I doing? Or how do I do this? Try not to spend too long, like, banging, like trying to do everything, finding the solution yourself. Come to me, email me. It's not hard for me to show you how. So just know that. Because it is a lot, and you all have such unique needs and like, unique like visions for what you want your students to experience, etc. So if you can tell me what you're trying to do, I can usually find a solution. And if I can't, then I send it to Chris and I'm like, hey, Chris, you got to do this now. So.
And Michelle and I we talked about like, well, it won't be a teaching session because if you have, say, 100 people, it's hard to put people in breakout rooms. And we wanted to just give you an overview, not rush through it, not overwhelm you, but to show you this is what you can do. Because we talked about that. How do we want to present it? What do we want people to do? And we hope that people aren't overwhelmed. This is, hello, it's really good. It's really good. So.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much. Like, this has been so wonderful. And also, like, thank you all for coming here because so many of you have become very familiar names in my email inbox and also on the screen. And it's just wonderful to see you here.